What's up, YouTube? I'm Robert, and you're watching the B1KER Bar Podcast. So, these guard shacks, some of them were like a little like bunker that was dug into the ground with a bunch of sandbags on it. But the ones that were on the runway were like, let's just say an 8x8 square, and it's about between 2 and 3 stories tall. And on one side, like along one of the legs that's going up the square to lift this thing up off the ground, right? It's because it's like a little box up in the air, right? Is a ladder, a wooden ladder. And then you would climb up that ladder, and then you could crawl into this bunker, right? And it had sandbags all around it and sandbags on top of it. And you would just sit in this tower for what you would do 12 hours on, 12 hours off. And that's what we do for like that week. So you'd get to know these guys that you were on down there with really fucking well, because you don't spend 12 hours in a box with some other dude for a week straight, 12 hours a day, and not like know every fucking thing about them, right? I was in this unit. We were in Bosnia for a year. So this 4-week rotation went on, consistently that whole time. And somewhere in the winter time, they decided, man, it's getting really fucking cold out there. We're going to let these guys take like those big 5-gallon jugs that you see like people have strapped to the back of their Jeep for fuel or water or whatever. Like they let us take one of those full of whatever it was called. We called it like JP8, I think is what it was called. It was like basically it's like diesel fuel, right? And we were allowed to go out there, and they put like a 55-gallon drum down at the bottom of the tower, and you were allowed to make a little fire. And dude, let me tell you right now, you give 18, 19, 20-year-old guys a 5-gallon jug of freaking fuel, and you tell them that they're allowed to make a fire, shit's going to go awry. And sure enough, it did. Because we would do this thing where it would be like, oh, let's take out some like broken up pallets or this or that or the other. And it got to be this thing like, how big of a fire can we fucking make, right? And get away with. So somebody that's on the comments that says War Within says it's jet fuel mixed with oil. So nonetheless, so me and the guy that's on guard in this tower are like, today is going to be the day that we make the fire of all fires. And we got a couple of pallets, and we poured all this freaking fuel on it, set that motherfucker on fire, and poof, like the flames, I'm not even lying, were just as tall as our tower for at least a minute or two until everything burned up, right? So like while that happens, while we set this freaking like fire of the century, we're right on the runway, by the way. So this is like where planes are supposed to be landing. It starts pouring, man. It really just starts coming down, and like cats and dogs coming down. And I'm from Pennsylvania. I don't know, you guys know the East Coast or aren't from the East Coast or been to the East Coast, but when it rains over there, like sometimes those raindrops, they come down like softballs, and you got thunder, you got lightning, and it happens all the time. In Pennsylvania, we have lightning and thunder when it's not even raining. They call it like dry lightning or something like that. Like, so I grew up around thunder and lightning all my life. No fucks given about it, right? So this is pouring, it's coming down. We get up into the tower, our fire's out, and we're standing there, and I'm not even lying. There's like it's clear-cut trees from the runway out to about, I don't know, maybe 100 yards in front of our tower. And then in between our tower and that is like some concertina wire and if you guys don't know what concertina wire is, it's like barbed wire, but it's like circly with like razor blades on it. Bunch of that, like keep bad guys out, right? And then about 100 yards away, there's the tree line. And I watch a lightning bolt fucking hit those trees out there. Bam! Like watching it like fucking watching dynamite go off. And it's loud as fuck, dude, because you're like right there. And a minute, 2 minutes later or something like that, bam, another one. I want to say at least two or three that we watched hit those trees out in front of us. And my buddy Jerzak, the guy I was in the tower with, I remember him looking at me and being like, man, this is fucked up, man. We're not going to get any sleep tonight because like you're not supposed to sleep on guard. That's obviously not how guard works, right? But two young guys, like what happens instead of guarding your sector, what really happens is one guy goes to sleep, the other guy stays awake and guards to make sure that nobody's coming to check on us whether or not we fell asleep or not. And so while all this lightning and thunder is going on, we're both looking at each other like, holy shit, we're actually gonna have to stay up all damn night tonight. And right about then, like there was this flash of light, and it looked like a blue flash of light. And then you guys have probably seen like the nuclear explosions on movies where it's like this wave is just like going through the city and just blowing trees and cars and houses down. It felt like a wave like that, but what that was made out of electricity just hit me. Like just hit me like a fucking freight train. And it actually I thought that was it. I thought that was the end. Like I said to you guys earlier, I was an electrician before I was in the military, and I knew that 0.1 amps stops your heart. And I was pretty damn sure that I just got struck by lightning. And I remember telling myself over and over and over again in my head, 0.1 amp stops your heart. 0.1 amp stops your heart. 0.1 amp stops your heart. You're dying right now, man. Like, this is it. Like, you are actually, you're going to find out, like, what's next. And I remember, like, 0.1 amp stops your heart. 0.1 amp stops your heart. And then I'm thinking these other thoughts, 0.1 amp stops your heart. Well, I guess this is how it goes. We'll see what's next, right? And 0.1 amp stops your heart. And I'm hearing this screaming in the background. It's like somebody's just screaming and having these thoughts. 0.1 amp stops your heart. And that screaming is getting louder and louder and louder and louder. And all right, this is it. And then I realized that the screaming was me. And as soon as I realized it was me, I stopped screaming. And the lightning had kind of like picked me up and threw me towards that ladder hole that you would climb back down to the ground on. And Hayden says, spoiler alert, he lived. And so my head's kind of like dangling off the side of the tower. And I stop screaming. I sit up, and there's these sandbags there right next to that hole that you would get out on. So that way, if like somebody was attacking you, you could be behind the sandbags and shooting out the hole where you would climb down the ladder. So my buddy Jerzak landed on the other side of the sandbag. So I sit up, and he's like crawling on his elbows around the sandbag so that he could like see where I'm at. And he looks at me and he's like, Schumacher, are you okay? And right then, that was about the time that Pulp Fiction came out. So we watched a lot of movies. We were in the field. We didn't have shit else to do when we weren't and like doing guard or whatever. We watched a lot of movies. Watched Pulp Fiction a ton. And there's that scene wherever that chick freaking ODs and he slams that fucking needle into her heart. Boom. And she wakes up, and the first thing she says is the same thing that I said to Jerzak when he said, are you all right, Schumacher? I looked at him. I was like, that was fucking trippy, man. And he just loses his shit. What the fuck is wrong with you, man? We could be fucking dead right now. I can't believe you're fucking making a joke right now. And we just got struck by lightning. And so while he's cussing me out, the fire truck is rolling down the freaking runway because somebody called the fire department whenever we set the fire next to the tower. So the fire department is rolling down the runway. They just so happen to be getting there, like climbing up the ladder as he's cussing me out. They're like, what the fuck is going on here? The guys in the fire truck said that the hair, they were about like 20, 30 yards away from us or something like that whenever it hit. And they said all the hair on their body just stood up and laid down. And the guys that were in the next tower down, which is probably about 3,000 meters away or something like that, they were saying, or 1,000 maybe, something like that. They were like, dude, your whole tower lit up like a light bulb. Everybody thought you were going to be dead. And you could see burn marks, like, because I'm a pretty hairy dude. You could see the exact like lines that the electricity went down my legs because the hair was burned in those pathways. So I had like these like burned hair, singed hair lines all the way down my legs to the ground. And so that's the story of how I got struck by lightning. If you like that, make sure you check out the full episode. And hey, do me a favor, before you take off, hit the like and subscribe.